Alright, yeah, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena Mana Burn. It has been a while, but I'm ready to bring back another interesting little list. I'm so excited to show you this one, guys. So, Mana Burn, for those who don't know, is the series where we play horrendously janky combos most of the time. Some with questionable amounts of pieces, maybe up to, like, 5, 6, 7 card combos. You never know. Whatever it takes to do something stupid, that's what Mana Burn's all about. Today, we're going to be playing some Vannifar combo. This deck is hard to describe, I would say. So I played it today, so hopefully my knowledge of this combo can withstand this deck tech, because my brain hurts. So it's built around Prime Speaker Vannifar. 4 mana 2/4 that says sacrifice another creature, search your library for a creature card with mana value equal to 1 plus the sacrificed creature's mana value. Put that card onto the battlefield, then shuffle, but you can only do it as a sorcery. So we're going to use Vannifar to do an infinite mana, infinite damage combo. How do we do that, you ask? Well, it's going to be easier for me to describe this combo if I put all of the combo pieces into a pile. So, let's start. Emil and Basalt Ravager are part of it. Renegade Rallier is, so is Zerda, so is the Electromancer, so is the Glasspool Mimic, so is the Corridor Monitor, and so are these 1-drops here. Alright, so this pile is the combo. So we start with a nice little early game ramp package. We got Gilded Goose and we got Llanowar Elves. Those allow us to get Vannifar out on turn 3 to then hopefully get a non-summoning sick Vannifar on turn 4. From there, we sack one of the 1-drop creatures to go and grab a 2-drop. The only 2-drop we're going to try and grab is Corridor Monitor. Corridor Monitor says when it enters the battlefield, you untap an artifact or creature you control. So Corridor Monitor is going to enter the battlefield, it's going to untap the Vannifar, allowing us to use it again. So we'll bring the Vannifar over here. Vannifar then sacks the Corridor Monitor to get Renegade Rallier. Renegade Rallier says when it enters the battlefield, if a permanent left the battlefield this turn, which it has when Renegade Rallier will enter, return a permanent card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. So when this enters, we're going to get a Corridor Monitor, which untaps the Vannifar. We're then going to sack the Corridor Monitor to get a Renegade Rallier, sack the Corridor Monitor to get a Renegade Rallier, sack the Corridor Monitor to get a Glasspool Mimic, becoming a copy of Renegade Rallier, sack the Corridor Monitor to get a Glasspool Mimic, Monitor, Mimic, Monitor, Mimic, until we've run out of those. From there, we untap with Vannifar, sacking one of the Renegade Ralliers to get a 4-drop. The 4-drop we're going to get is my favourite boy, Emil the Blessed. For this one, it is a 4-mana 4/4 with a tap 3, which is the important part. Exile another creature you control, then return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. So we flicker using that 3-mana ability, which we will have had with our untap, hopefully, to get a Corridor Monitor to untap the Vannifar. Now, we've got several 3-drops. We've got an Emil, and we've got a Corridor Monitor. We're going to sack the Corridor Monitor. No, we're going to... You see, this is the problem. We're going to sack the Corridor Monitor to get a Zerda. Zerda says that abilities you activate that aren't mana abilities cost 2 less to activate, but it can't reduce it to less than 1 mana, which means that the Emil has a 1 mana exile effect to flicker. So using the 1 mana exile, we flicker the Renegade Rallier to get back the Corridor Monitor we just lost, which then allows us to go get Ardent Electromancer. Let's take a little break here. How are you guys doing? You had a good day? I have. It's been pretty great. I've pulled this combo off a fair few times. It's fun. We use that to get the Ardent Electromancer, which adds 1 red for each creature in your party. So this is a rogue. This is a warrior. I think warriors are part of the class, right? Something like that. Either way, the Mimics are also rogues, which is part of the Electromancer. Electromancer being a wizard, so we have some creatures in our party. Bare minimum is adding 2 red, and that's great because Emil only pays 1 to flicker. So for 1 to flicker, we flicker the Electromancer, which generates more than 1. We have infinite mana. Once we have infinite mana, then we are going to flicker a Renegade Rallier or a Monitor, I forget what's on the battlefield at this point, to then get a 4-drop by sacking a Rallier. The 4-drop is going to be Basalt Ravager, which enters the battlefield and deals X damage to any target, where X is the greatest number of creatures you control that have a type in common. Ralliers and Renegade Ralliers and Glasspool Mimics making up the combination there of all of them being warriors. So this should deal 5 damage usually. We also have an alternative of Infinite Life with the Prosperous Innkeeper from the D&D set. It creates as a treasure token, so it helps us get out our early game Vanifar as well, which is quite nice. But it also acts as a life gain option. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life. So you can imagine if we're doing kind of a small combo, we've just gained a lot of life if you think about the amount of times I've just told you a creature entered the battlefield. So lots of life there to stabilize if we don't have the full combo. Otherwise, we can use Emil's Infinite Flicker ability with the Electromancer to make infinite mana and infinite life. Protection. We have Skyclave Apparition. This allows us to get rid of things like Solemnity 9 lives, for example. We can hit the Solemnity with this. Remember, we've got infinite flickers with Emil, so we can flicker and hit as many 4 or less drops as we want. So our opponent can have as many Solemnities in play as they want. We'll be able to hit them all. We also have Selfless Savior as well. We can play this on 1. This is actually another creature that we can sack to the Vanifar to get our Corridor Monitor, but it also acts as a way to keep our Vanifar alive, which is really important. Because this is a mana burn video, I forgot to mention this deck is incredibly flimsy, which means if you interact with Vanifar, we struggle. We do have Neoforms in the deck. These Neoforms will allow us to turn our 3 drops, which are Apparition, Electromancer, Zerda, Rallier, and Mimic. Turn any of those into a Vanifar as well, so these are honorary Vanifars as long as we've got a Neoform, so you can kind of think of this as the 8th copy of Vanifar in that sense, excuse me. And then we can also, as well, if we've lost our Basalt Ravager for any reason, it's in our hand, it's been thought seized or anything like that. Although if it's in our hand, we've got infinite red mana anyway, so no problem there. But if it's in our graveyard, then we can go with Tuk Tuk Rubble Fort. Most of you will know this from the Neostorm deck. It's very annoying. 3 mana 0/3, so we can hit it by sacrificing a Corridor Monitor. Gives creatures we control haste, so we'll have a board full of Ralliers and Mimics and anything else up until that point. All of these will have haste. It won't be a lethal attack, but it will be kind of a 2-turn clock in most games. Whew. That's the deck. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. If you do, I'd really appreciate it if you do hit that like button and subscribe and leave a comment down below. Look at the state of this deck. It's a barrel lass anyway. As I say with all mana burn decks, I wouldn't recommend ever crafting them. Allow me to make the mistake of playing these bad decks so you don't have to, and enjoy them vicariously through me. I think that's really all I'm going to say on the matter, so enjoy the video. This video is brought to you by the generous support of our wonderful patrons and channel members that you see here. If you'd like to support the channel and get access to cool content like sneak peeks, bonus videos, polls on future content, or access to a personal deck critique from myself every month, then hit the join button down below, or check out the Patreon link in the description. With all that said, let's get into the gameplay. Alrighty, we're in, and we have no Vanifar. So good as this start is mana-wise, and if we drew a Vanifar, it would be good. I think we take at least a mull to try and find our combo piece. There's Neoform, which we can Neoform in Apparition to get a Vanifar. So let's put back the Electromancer. This deck hurts my brain. It truly does. Even just looking at it, it's kind of awkward and painful. All right, so yeah, this hand's weird. That's an awful draw. Truly, truly awful. Not even castable is how good that card is. I guess if we drew an Ancient Ziggurat's castable. But we have 2 of them in the deck, so yep, say no more on the matter. So we're up against elves. I guess it's theoretically a world where elves is a deck that we can beat. Let's play a Gildagoose. That's our 1-drop to Vanifar off of. Next turn we get to Skyclave Apparition. Well, it's hard to say what we actually Apparition. I guess... Well, now they've got double War Master. Like, the one card that clearly kills us is Allosaurus Shepherd. But going to 16 with double War Master in play? Kind of feel like I hit the War Master. Let's say that they get their elf mana dude. And I don't hit Allosaurus Shepherd. I can't block with the Apparition. I can block the Shepherds. I think it's just better to hit Shepherd. I'm not sure. If I had more time to think about it, then I would probably maybe make a different decision, but this deck is not one that would allow you to take a lot of time to think about your lines. So they have a Marwyn, so we got rid of what I assume is the correct card now. So now I can Neoform the Skyclave Apparition, which gets me a Vanifar. I can now... 3... 6... This is 7. 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. It's lethal anyway. So let's Hallowed Fountain Corridor Monitor. Hope they whiff on a land, I guess. Llanowar Elves. So I think if they whiff on a land, we're okay. Although, actually, maybe not now. 8 mana pumps into the War Master once. It's only elves, so the token we gave them won't do anything. They're all death touching, so... Oh, a safety attacker is wonderful. So you don't want to win? Well, if you don't want to win, then... I accept that. Let's take 9. There's no hidden mana here I'm not seeing. I'll just take it. And yeah, we should just win the game now. So we sack the food to add some mana. Vanifar sacks the Gilded Goose, which becomes a Corridor Monitor. Corridor Monitor untaps Vanifar, which taps the Corridor Monitor, becoming a Renegade Rallier, which reanimates the Corridor Monitor. Keep up, chat. I know it's difficult, but keep up. Sack the Corridor Monitor, becoming a Renegade Rallier, which reanimates the Corridor Monitor, which untaps the Vanifar, which taps the Corridor Monitor, becoming a Renegade Rallier. From here, we then move on to Glasspool Mimics. This is where you can potentially make sequencing errors by targeting the wrong thing, because now the stack actually has more than one decision to make. So this becomes a copy of Renegade Rallier, which gets you the Corridor Monitor. The Monitor untaps the Vanifar. You sack the Monitor again, which becomes a copy of Glasspool Mimic, which is a Renegade Rallier. The Renegade Rallier is a Corridor Monitor that untaps the Vanifar. Then you tap the Corridor Monitor, which becomes a Glasspool Mimic, which is a copy of Renegade Rallier, which gets you the Corridor Monitor, which untaps the Vanifar. From here, you sack a Renegade... Oh, hang on. Hang on. Sack Renegade Rallier becoming an Emil. Yeah, I think that's right. This is the bit that kind of always gets me. Becomes an Emil. Emil flickers corridor monitor. Which untaps Vanifar. We decline. Vanifar then sacks the corridor monitor to become a copy of Zerda, which means that Emil now flickers for 1. Now we flicker the Renegade Rallier, which becomes a corridor monitor, which untaps the Vanifar. Decline, decline. Then we need the corridor monitor to become the Ardent Electromancer, which generates us 3 mana. With that 3 mana, we use 1 of it to make infinite mana. Flickering, 3 mana. Rinse, repeat, forever. Decline. So, this should be more than enough mana, I would say. Now we flicker the Renegade Rallier. Could do the Corridor Monitor as well. But this way I get to reanimate a Corridor Monitor and add more triggers to the stat that could screw me over. Untap Vanifar. Decline, decline. Tap Vanifar on Renegade Rallier to then become a copy of Basalt Ravager, which deals 5 damage to my opponent's face. Then we flicker Basalt Ravager to deal 5 damage to my opponent's face. Then we flicker the Basalt Ravager, and if you were wondering why I did all the Renegade Rallier thing, it actually just increases the number that the Basalt Ravager does, because it's creature types, creature cards that have a type in common. So, you know, lots of Renegade Ralliers. Decline, and then Ravager for the final swing. This could also be a board wipe. We could also gain infinite life if we can't target our opponent's face for some reason. Because we can play this Selfless Savior and flicker a Corridor Monitor to untap Vanifar, sack the Savior to get the Innkeeper, and then the Innkeeper ETBs off of creatures entering. So then we gain infinite life that way. We can also just play the Rubble Fort, which then gives all of our creatures the ability to attack, which is an alternative way of playing the game, but may not necessarily get us there. I'm kind of curious whether or not we could have won from this position had our opponent attacked in with the War Masters as well. I think we would have been forced to block with the Gilded Goose and the Corridor Monitor, but I think with a Selfless Savior in hand, we can get the other Corridor Monitor and go. We might be like 1 mana short, though. But I'm guessing with this floating mana here, the tap on the Gilded Goose that I did was mostly not necessary. So, yeah, I think we had it, even if we had to block with everything but Vanifar there. But, yeah, this combo's quite the brain melter. Well, on to the next game, I guess. Yeah. Alrighty, we're in, and on the play with a hand I would deem unplayable. It's got both of our Corridor Monitors in it and no Vanifar, so it's kind of an easy mull for me, I think. You can get one of these into play and then sack it for Renegade Rallier to get your combo started, but might as well take the mull on it and aim for something better. This is so much worse. And, well, I guess this is okay. So we put back the Basalt Ravager and the Corridor Monitor. Right, the Neoform needs a 3-drop to be a Vanifar. Corridor Monitor could become a Renegade Rallier with the Neoform, but that's just kind of like a value play. I don't think it gets us very far. So I think we'll go Temple Garden, we'll go Llanowar Elves. Say go. So we're hoping for a 3-drop here, and then this hand actually wins the game. Up against Merfolk. Well, there's a 3-drop. Kind of sad we went with the Llanowar Elves instead of the Gilded Goose. I valued the Elves more, but with this hand, if we had Goose, we could have Apparitioned. We actually are lacking the blue source, though, from that point anyway. So maybe it doesn't matter too much. This way, we can even play this tapped. Pass. Maybe even hitting something better with Apparition. So yeah, if we draw a 3-drop, I think is our best draw now. Maybe even a land? An untapped white source means Apparition plus Neoform. Oh, Vanifar. That's also our best draw ever? I don't think our opponent can interact with Vanifar here, so they've got to 16 me, and I don't see that happening, to be honest. Maybe they got some bounce magic that would keep them in the game. Mistbinder sure as hell won't be it. But it is a hefty 6 points of damage coming through here, because I will not be blocking. Guess I've got another 1-drop. Unsummon! No! An unsummoned player. That's just rude. Goose. If I played Apparition, I could hit one of their creatures, or I could take the turn here. Four, 6, 8 I'm taking right now. I can't really afford to take that much. I'm just wondering whether or not Deep Root Elite or Mistbinder represents the most damage from the next turn. I guess it actually might just be Deep Root Elite. I think I've got to hit it. And then maybe we can just Neoform the Apparition, but I don't imagine that would end up being the line. See, Mera Rijri is kind of the card I was a little concerned with. Oof. Here I have to make a food. I don't really have a choice in the matter. I'm at 2, so I have to block everything. Yeah, I'm dead. I don't think there's a line here. My 2-drops are Innkeeper and Corridor Monitor. Neither of those help me out. My 4-drops are Emil Basalt Ravager. That doesn't do ult for me. And Vanifar. And I give them a 2/2 here as well, so... Yeah, I mean... That be that. The Unsummon won them the game. If they didn't have that, they would have lost on the spot. So, pretty good for them, and not so good for us. On to the next game. Alright, we go first. We have turn 1 Llanowar Elves or Gilded Goose here. We've got the Vanifar for turn 3, and extra 1-drops as well. This is maybe as close to as the nut drawer as possible, I think. It's hard to say. Like, you don't want Corridor Monitor in your hand, and Glasspool Mimic is fine, but not great either. Other than that, though, I've got no complaints about this hand. Goose or Elves? Goose is good if I draw Skyclave Apparition, as we've learnt. But worse otherwise. Don't even know if Apparition's going to be good, so let's just play to... this line instead. Opponent's got a Swamp. That does concern me. So my opponent is highlighting my Llanowar Elves as we speak, I believe. So, as much as I want to mimic the Llanowar Elves, it kind of screws me over if they Fatal Push it. I think I'll just go with Gildagoose. And just tap land here, swing for 1. Leave my Llanowar Elves tapped so that they leave it alone. I really just need like a Selfless Savior if I'm gonna feel safe here. Graveyard Marshal. 2 or fewer other lands. So I could go for it. I could say, you don't have removal. GG if that's the case. I don't think my hand really allows me to do anything else, to be honest. I think I just have to Vannifar. If they have removal, which they probably do, then I'll have to draw another Vannifar or a 3-drop to Neoform. Because I think Mimic takes the mana cost of the card, right? I'm not quite sure. We'll think about it as and when we need to, because our opponent has not killed my Vannifar. So we don't even need to concern ourselves with it. We have just won the game. Okay, so tap Llanowar Elves. Llanowar Elves becomes the last Corridor Monitor in my deck. Monitor untaps Vannifar. Vannifar becomes a Renegade Rallier. Renegade Rallier reanimates Corridor Monitor, which untaps my Vannifar, which then sacks my Corridor Monitor to make another Renegade Rallier. The Renegade Rallier does the same thing as the last Renegade Rallier, which is to untap the Corridor Monitor, and then we repeat once more to get the final Renegade Rallier out of our deck and the Corridor Monitor out of the graveyard. From here, this is where things get a bit spooky. I have some Glasspool Mimics, actually, so it's not the spooky bit. We sack Corridor Monitor. Thank God our opponent didn't make us play that out. We go for... Let me think about this. We go for Glasspool Mimics. Then we use our last Corridor Monitor untap to sack a Rallier, which gets us a meal. A meal flickers Ralliers to get us Corridor Monitors. No, it flickers the Corridor Monitor to untap the Vannifar, sack the Rallier, or the Monitor to get to get Zerda, which makes 1 mana a meal. 1 mana a meal flickers something to do it all over again to make mana to win the game. That's what we need to do. We got extremely lucky that 5 cards in our opponent's hand and none of them were removal, but looks like we were up against some mighty fine jank. Because, yeah. Wouldn't play any of these cards outside of Brawl. Certainly not in Historic. But yeah, let's go to the next game. Okay, a laughable 1-lander. It kind of has everything we need, which makes it laughable. It's turn 1 Llanowar Elves, and then turn 2 we can mess about with some stuff, but it's got combo pieces in our hand we'd rather not actually have in our hand, so it's an easy mull. Huh. Opponent's a Yorion list. This is a strange hand. It's playable, but is it winnable? This one requires a little bit of RNGesus spinning the wheel, I think. I'd sooner go to 5, I think. Okay. Alright. We've got our combo. We do not want this card. We do not want this card. Breeding Pool, tapped, go. So your opponent's commander is Yorion, Sky Nomad. That is god tier. I cannot state how amazing that top deck is. Any 1-drop mana dork there was the best draw we could have had, I think. Because now we get to play Vanifar next turn, and if our board state remains intact, which Swamp makes questionable, you are the worst human being I've ever encountered in the play queue today. Alright, so now we need a 3-drop or a Vanifar. Tap land, swing for 1. Alright. Combo deck falls apart to hand disruption. Truly a thing nobody would have ever seen coming. Gideon Earth Trials is totally fine. That emblem actually doesn't matter. Play you, play you. Could get a 2-drop, so a Prosperous Innkeeper. I'd rather save it for a 3-drop that could get me a Vanifar. So this is a Mardu Yorion list. It's gotta have, like, a ton of removal. So 3-drop. Ooh, Solemnity and 9 lives. I can beat that, because I have Skyclave Apparitions. And I can flicker them infinitely. Alright. I would love it. Love, 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 love it. If our opponent played 9 lives, said GG, and that was it. Okay.
Now it's my turn.
Actually, now it's my turn. I don't think you understand, Gideon. It's my turn. Corridor Monitor. Untaps Vanifar. Corridor Monitor becomes Renegade Rallier. Renegade Rallier is Corridor Monitor, which is another Renegade Rallier. That one. Yes. Yes. What could that last card be, chat? I don't know if it could be anything relevant. Renegade Rallier is Corridor Monitor. But yeah, we have the full combo now. We just have to not mess it up or time out. I haven't seen the rope once playing this deck, to be honest, though. So it's safe to say you can take your time with it. And you got to be careful right around the time you run out of Renegade Ralliers. I think. Actually, no. Do you... I think you actually sack a Renegade Rallier as your next option. So it wouldn't matter too much, I don't think. But my brain's a little bit frazzled right now, so we're going to take it nice and slowly as we turn the corner here. This is like driving school, you know. Here comes the parking section. Can't mess it up, otherwise you'll damage someone's car. Alright, now Vanifar gets me a meal. So I want to get Renegade Rallier into a meal. A meal uses that floating mana to flicker the monitor. To untap the Vanifar. Decline that. Then we use Corridor Monitor to get Zerda. Making 1 mana Emils. Which then we flicker Renegade Rallier to get Corridor Monitor. To untap the Vanifar. Decline. Decline. To sack the Corridor Monitor. Yep. To get Ardent Electromancer. Infinite mana. Let's make a little bit of mana. You only have to do this 2 or 3 times. You got more than enough combo potential after that. Though I will say that if your opponent has like infinite life, you probably have to do it a couple more times. Alright, then we decline. We flicker Renegade Rallier to get the Corridor Monitor one more time. Corridor Monitor is a Vanifar untap. Decline all of these. Rallier becomes our big old giant, who then murders our opponents. So we need to get rid of Gideon, otherwise we can't win. So now we can win. And then we flicker the Ravager. And we win the game. I think our opponent was relying a little bit too much on Gideon there. It's probably why they let us play this out. But yeah. So in this situation, if they had the Solemnity 9 lives combo, we continue kind of our combo as usual, but eventually we go Corridor Monitor to get Skyclave Apparition to hit the Solemnity, and then from there we hit them 9 times in the face. There should be nothing that Skyclave Apparition can't hit for lethal. And there we go. Fantastic. So they were like a Demonic Pact Yorion list, which is interesting. You would imagine they have a lot more removal than they let on, and we actually played through a Thoughtseize as well, which is nice. Almost established the Solemnity thing. This could have killed Vanifar as well. That would have been kind of awkward. So yeah, we quite happy to be going off when we did, and yeah, pretty normal looking board state for this deck. Was this turn 5? Something like that. Pretty good. On to the next one. Alright. We are in. Oh, this hand. The Electromancer is kind of bad. We don't really want that. So this is virtually a 6-card hand anyway. If we could draw a Ziggurat, we could then turn the Neoformed Electromancer into a Vanifar, but I think I'd much rather just mull and get that back in the deck. Oh, good lord. It's I'm already trying to put the put the card back. This looks like heaven. Yeah, turn 1 Llanowar Elves go. This is a turn 3 Vanifar, turn 4 infinite combo. Blue's never a good sign. Secret Keeper. I guess it's a world where that hits a sufficient amount of my cards that I can't properly combo. I might have to go like the Tuk Tuk Rubble Fort plan instead. Well, what I will say is if they're not in black, then we got a decent chance of going off here. We get to go Vanifar. I'll just get a Gildagoose into play as well. And I've got a winning board state. So they need to mill important cards as kind of a first priority, and then they need to answer the Vanifar if they can't answer the important cards, because I don't need to resolve a spell for the rest of the game now. Oh, they got the Zerda and the Emil. Wow. That is quite a combination of cards to hit on the exact same card. So that stops my infinite flicker combo. I mean, we're going for it. It's just I'm not sure where we go with it. So, Llanowar Elves becomes a Corridor Monitor, which we fortunately still have one of in our deck. Which untaps the Vanifar. Let's see what we can do. We still have the Rubble Fort as well, so Rallier gets Corridor Monitor. And we consider a lot more to flicker through as well to get to my graveyard pieces. Yeah, I think we're kind of going to go full combat damage mode here. I think that's the line that we have to kind of take. Sack. We got one more Renegade Rallier and 3 Glasspool Mimics. So Rallier is a Corridor Monitor. So 3 Glasspool Mimics we're going to go get. Which is a Renegade Rallier. Which gets Corridor Monitor. Which untaps Vanifar. It's weird. I think if the Emil wasn't gone, we'd have been still in a pretty good spot. Yeah, Corridor Monitor. Glasspool Mimic. Which is Corridor Monitor. Which is Vanifar. Which is the last Glasspool Mimic. Yeah. Wow, opponent scoops it up. So let me think about this. So we get the last Glasspool Mimic, which gets us our Corridor Monitor. That Corridor Monitor becomes Tuk Tuk Rubble Fort, and I think that's kind of like the end of our combo. Because we have no way of flickering the Corridor Monitors. Which means that the combo naturally comes to an end there. We can't get our giant that deals damage to face, nor can we flicker it. So yeah, we just kind of turn the Corridor Monitor into a Rubble Fort, and that's 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 damage, 16 damage total, blocked. It's not quite lethal, but we're at 21, so from 4 lands, they would have to 21 us. And I guess maybe it's possible if they had like a Tasha's Hideous Laughter. I'm trying to think of the cards that are left in my deck at that point. Oh, I get to see. Oh, well, do you look at that? I didn't even know this was a feature. When did they sneak this one in? Yeah, I mean, if they had a Tasha's Hideous Laughter, it kind of... Oh, we've got some 7-drop lands in here. That might be enough. I'm not going to do the math on whether or not we survive that card, but if we survive the mill and get to untap, then the combat damage we have left after that is more than enough. I guess unless they have like a Whelming Wave, or there's another 4-mana one that I can't remember that would have also done the job, but yeah, pretty good. And I think that is going to do it for today's video. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. If you have, really appreciate if you do hit that like button and subscribe. Probably going to be coming back with some more Vanifar at some point, because I know that the Historic Horizons has revealed a 4-drop Hippocamp, which untaps Vanifar. So I'm sure there's a 5-drop that we'd want to combo into there as well, and see what we can do with that. I'm sure that's going to be pretty funny. Maybe like a combo into Yorion and flicker all these Renegade Ralliers and get back your entire graveyard. Something stupid like that, but I'm sure there's a combo with the flying hippo thing that would be pretty cool. But yeah, take care guys, and have a wonderful rest of your day.